see. All right. So you stuck your head in Radhakund? That's all right. There's no prohibitions. Only the prohibition is the feet. Yeah, so next time you could just have someone hold your feet. There's actually many people who live there, many of the sadhus who live in Radhakund, they don't go in. They just take their bath with their lota from Radhakund. Because they respect Radhakund, because Radhakund is as dear to Krishna as Srimati Radharani. So, so my mood is, like in India, well, not so much in the West, but in India, the feet are considered the dirtiest part of the body. So Prabhupada, it's interesting because Prabhupada himself told us things about the feet. He said, don't even move furniture with your feet. He said it's offensive. Like if I were to start to move this chair with my feet, Prabhupada said that's offensive. And so many times with our feet, we push people around, we kick them. But in polite Indian culture, feet are just like, unless you're a great devotee, then you have lotus feet. Everyone else's feet are horrible. But anyway, and in, like if you were to throw your shoes at someone, they would probably kill you. That's considered the greatest insult, to throw your shoes at someone. So anyway, so the point is that at least my mood is, I am not going to put my feet anywhere near Radhakund. The rest of the body, head, whatever can go in. Head, hands, whatever, but not the feet. Because for me, Radhakund is like a deity. Yeah. So, anyway, that's my particular mood. I'm not going to criticize someone else if their mood is different. Everybody has their own mood in relationship to Krishna and Radharani. You can't criticize someone for their mood. Okay. It is really difficult to sit on here and play the guitar. Sharir Adi Hade Boli Jainayane Babenir Goranga Boli Jayave Bulaka Sharir Adi Hade Boli Arakabe, detached, Corona, Ive, Samsara Bashana, Mura, Kabi Chuchaibe, Arakabe, detached, Corona, Ive, Samsara Bashana. Judave Bana Kabehama Raboshi Vrindavana Baha Vishaya Chahiya Kave Judave Bana Kabehama Raboshi Vrindavana Baha Nathapade Noivea Puti Kaveyama Mujapose Yugara Puriti Uparaguna Nathapade Noivea Puti Kaveyama Mujapose Ragu Nathapade Rahumurasha Ratanakore Sadan Narottamo Das Ragu Nathapade Rahumurasha Ratanakore Sharir Hare Hare Bole Jai Nayane Babenir Goranga Bole Jai Hare Bolaka Sharir Hare Hare Bole Jai Nayane Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jaya Jaya, Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad. Paramahansa Parvatacharya, also Teta Sitashi. Shimad is divine grace. Abhaya Chalananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidway Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shai Makunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Maturam Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Samani Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shinyavadi Paschachate Chatarne. So take that upstairs. So read the translation. When will that opportune moment come to me when I shiver upon chanting the name of Lord Gauranga? When will I cry while chanting Hare Krishna? When will I receive the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda so that my desires for material enjoyment become insignificant? When will my mind be purified of material anxieties and desires so that I can understand Vrindavana? When shall I be very eager to study the books by the six Goswamis so they can understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna? The lotus feet of the six Goswamis are my only shelter. In constant separation from them, I remain Narottama Das. So Narottama Das Thakur Ki Jai. So, we are going to continue our Nectar Devotion study, if that's all right with everybody. So, big crowds tonight. Oh, Kamala. Did you make this yourself?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
You did, that's wonderful.
One day.
So, Omegana Timidandasa, Gadan Shana, Shakya, Chakshur, Meditam, Yenatas Bari Shigarave Namaha. So, we're hearing about the characteristics of a devotee who has developed ecstatic love for Krishna. So, now we're right. This it's the first one we read. Does anyone remember what was the first characteristic we read?
Merciful.
What?
Purifies with their glance.
No. No.
Always.
Time.
Oh, yeah.
That was the method of coming to the ecstatic platform, was you could be purified by the glance of a pure devotee. But the characteristic of a pure devotee doesn't waste any time. Very good. So here's the next one. Controlled senses. The senses are always desiring sense enjoyment. But when a devotee develops transcendental love for Krishna, his senses are no longer attracted by material desires. This state of mind is called detachment. There's a nice example of this detachment in connection with the characteristic of King Bharata. In the 5th canto, 14th chapter, 43rd verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that Emperor Bharata was so attracted by the beauty of the lotus feet of Krishna that even in his youthful life, oh, this is a heavy statement, he gave up all kinds of attachments to family, children, friends, kingdom, etc., as though they were untouchable stools. So, why did he actually take it up again? Because he was on the ecstatic platform, but he wasn't on the pure platform. Because if you analyze the different process of bhakti, or becoming a devotee, adoshradata sadhu sangota bhajana kriya. You know, first there is a little faith, a little interest. Then one begins to associate with the devotees, next step. And then when you associate with the devotees, you begin to do what they do. What do the devotees do? Bhajana kriya. They chant, and then once that happens, you get rid of unwanted things. Right? What's an unwanted thing? That's good. That's good. That's actually a good answer. No, but unless now you agree. And then when you get rid of unwanted things, you can be steady. Right? And when you're steady, then you develop what? What? Taste, ruchi. And after that, you get very attached to Krishna, Shakti. And then after that comes bhava, which means emotions. We described those emotions the other day. And then after that comes prema. So on the platform of bhava, you are free of all unwanted things, but if you're not careful, they come back. It's just like right now, you know, there's no monkeys in the room. Let's see. No monkeys in the room. But if you leave the screen door open, I'm sure we'll have some monkeys in here. Like one time I was in Vrindavan, staying in the MVT building, and by accident I left my door open and I was eating prasadam. Next thing I knew, I had some guests there who wanted to sit down and eat with me. And I started screaming at them. I said, "Get the hell out of here. I don't want to see your face anymore," I said to the monkeys. And they ran out.
Oh, they listened.
Yeah, it was loud. And so the problem was that there were other devotees who were living right next to me. And they thought I was talking to a disciple. Yeah, because nobody talks to monkeys except for me. So they thought, no, this guy is so cruel to his disciple. I don't want to see your face anymore. So you got to be careful. So anyway, getting back to this point. So Bharat Maharaj was on that platform, but he wasn't attentive. And therefore, he allowed an anartha. And that anartha was that he thought he was the protector and maintainer of someone, of the deer. He thought, you know, this deer is dependent on me. Without me, the deer will not be happy. But actually, Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahonam Yobudadati Kamam. Krishna's maintaining everybody. Of course, we have our responsibility. If you're married, you have your responsibility. So someone who is completely Krishna conscious, then they can be engaged in so many activities, of course that's Yukta Vairagya, and not worry about their senses becoming attracted to the sense objects. And I was just actually reading this nice story today about someone like that. His name was Priyavrata. He was the son of Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. Actually, I got a chance to read a lot of Bhagavatam to him, which is nectar. which means coming in contact with Prabhupada too, and Shukadeva Goswami and Vidura, Maitreya. So anyway, so here's the story. That his guru was Narada Muni. So Narada Muni convinced him, give everything up, renounce this world, be really careful. And so Priyavrata said, yes, Guru Maharaj. And he gave everything up. And really, that wasn't his duty. He gave everything up. And his father got really upset because he was disobeying his father's instruction. His father was Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhuva Manu. Do you have a tissue or something? Or a piece of paper? A piece of paper or something. Yeah. Because Swayambhuva Manu wanted to give up, he was old. He wanted to renounce himself, and he needed his kid to take over. So Swayambhuva Manu was getting real nervous about it, because he understood the guru has higher priority than the father. So, his poor son was disobeying him. And so Swayambhuva Manu, he actually calls for reinforcements. What does he do? He calls for his father, Lord Brahma. He says, Lord Brahma, you come and you convince Priyavrata to become a king and get married and all that other stuff. And Priyavrata is thinking, oh my God. So Lord Brahma comes, riding on his swan chariot, and all the demigods come down with him, just to convince him to disobey the order of his spiritual master. It's actually an interesting story in the Bhagavatam. Really into the fourth canto of Bhagavatam. So he comes down, and actually the fifth canto, sorry. So I just finished the fourth canto. So he comes down, and Prabhupada describes that there's some teasing between the grandfather and the grandson. And so, basically, Priyavrata has to accept, but because he's such a great devotee, he's assured by Lord Brahma that he's not going to get entangled. So this is the point. That and actually Lord Brahma brings out, it's such an interesting story, he brings out the point of the Varnashram system, where everybody, according to their psychophysical nature, has a particular duty. And as we know from the Bhagavatam, Samsadir Hari Toshanam, the whole purpose of Varnashram is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So anyway, so it's not that everybody who wants to become Krishna conscious has to give up their family, children, friends, kingdom, etc., as though they were untouchable stools. Don't want to, people take this out of context, and they say to their wife, "You're just like an untouchable stool." Be quite dangerous. Anyway, so have to understand everything contextually. It's really interesting. I was thinking about this the other day, that it's not about the Bhagavatam precisely, how context means where something occurs. I was thinking about this in regard to the discussion we had the other day. Someone was asking me the question about how the Christians criticize us for worshiping deities. And then they bring forth the Ten Commandments, thou shalt have no graven image. So I was thinking that particular injunction was, if you look at the context of the Bible, it was right after the Hebrews had been worshiping a golden calf. So instruction wasn't given anywhere else. It was given because the Hebrews, for those of you who don't know the story, they had gone to the Himalayas. No, they'd gone to a place called Mount Sinai. And anyway, and Moses went up to get the Ten Commandments, but the first version of the Ten Commandments got broken because he got so upset that they were worshiping this golden calf. And we don't even know what was in the first version. Isn't it? Because he just like, hey, you creeps. And he smashed them all. Then he had to go up again. Anyone knows the story? No.
in school. we
Oh,
got
you
that.
learned it. So he had to go up a second time to get them, and the second time it had this injunction about graven images. So you can point that out to the Christians. That's another argument when Christians say, you shouldn't have deities. Or Muslims also use that too. You shouldn't have deities. I said, look at the context. So anyway, so the context of this particular story of Bart Maharaj should be understood very carefully so that one doesn't take it out of context and apply it to their own life. Because that would be really bad and very disruptive to human society. And Prabhupada continues, Emperor Bharat is a typical example of detachment. He had everything enjoyable in the material world, but he left it. This does not mean that detachment. This means that detachment does not mean artificially keeping oneself aloof and apart from the allurements of attachment. Even in the presence of such allurements, if one can remain unattracted by material attachments, that is called detachment. So in other words, how do we do that? We see everything as belonging to Krishna. Like one has a family, they see my family members, children, wife, whatever, they actually, Krishna's property, not mine. This concept of false ego is I and mine. I own you. Like your parents kind of think, oh, you're mine.
She says that to me as well.
You belong to me. You're my property. Yeah. That's counterproductive because in the long run, it won't allow the child to develop properly and have his own sense of moral compass. But Prabhupada said, in the beginning, of course, a neophyte devotee must try to keep himself apart from all kinds of alluring attachments. In other words, in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, you really have to know what your weak points are. Let's say if someone is an alcoholic before they join Krishna consciousness, probably you don't want to go into bars to preach to people. But if you're not an alcoholic, it's not a real problem. I mean, for example, one time I went into a bar, not to drink, because I never drank, and one of my godbrothers had fallen down and he was playing piano in a piano bar. So I went in there, but I just ordered 7-Up. So in other words, there wasn't, what was the attachment? So you have to be careful. Whereas I have to be careful if I walk into an electronics store. Whatever gadget is there, So everyone has to understand their own Maya. But the real position of a mature devotee is that even in the presence of all allurements, he is not attracted. This is the actual criterion of detachment. In other words, detachment doesn't mean that one just remains in a secluded place and, he's really detached. But detachment means that even in a place where sense gratification is available, the person's not really interested. I was actually thinking about this in regard to a story I read about Narendra Modi. That, I'm not saying he helps the Krishna conscious movement. So he, in Navaratri, he observes a fast, and wherever he goes, I was reading, even when he's received, came to the United States and they arranged a big banquet for him, and he still didn't eat anything. So, because that's one's determination. And he was even it was a vegetarian diet, a banquet that he didn't eat anything. So that's an example in the material world of how one can cultivate detachment by making a promise or a vow. That's very strong. One makes a promise or a vow that one is not going to do something, then one doesn't contemplate the sense object because you're not going to do it. It's as easy as that. So it sounds easy. It's not easy for everybody. But so making promises, like you're not going to eat certain things on the Ekadashi, it doesn't bother you anymore. It doesn't bother your mind. Like normally all of you are attached to rotis and what else? Rice and everything. So in Ekadasi, a good devotee will not even think about it. Whereas someone who's not so fixed in his determination or her determination will be struggling all day long. Rice. So that's a sign whether you're actually fixed in your determination or detached. Whether you can actually control your mind with your higher self, with your intelligence. Anyway, it's interesting. Okay, so that's detachment. Next quality. When a devotee, in spite of possessing all the qualities of pure realization, is not proud of his position, that is called pridelessness. And of course, with Prabhupada, many times, he accepted the praise, but he actually gave it to his spiritual master and gave it to Krishna. And sometimes there's one story, one devotee told me he was in the car with Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada, that was a great lecture. Oh, you really gave it to the Prabhupada turned around and says, Hare Krishna. In the Padma Purana, it stated that King Bhagirath was an emperor above all the kings. Yet he developed such ecstatic love for Krishna that he became a mendicant and went out begging even to the homes of his political enemies and untouchables. He was so humble that he respectfully bowed down before them. There are many similar instances in the history of India. Even very recently, about 200 years ago or less, one big landlord known as Lala Babu, a Calcutta landholder, became a Vaishnava that lived in Vrindavan. He was also begging from door to door, even at the homes of his political enemies. Begging involves being ready to be insulted by persons at whose home one has come. That is natural, but one has to tolerate such insults for the sake of Krishna. The devotee of Krishna can accept any position in the service of Krishna. Also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur did this to try to collect money for the temple in Mayapur. So he actually went home to home. I think it was the Gaura Vishnu Priya temple or something like that. He was collecting money for it. And so when devotees go out in Sankirtan, it's really hard on the false ego. Isn't it? Because it's not that everybody just runs up to you, unless you're Vaisheshika. But I've had so much experience in Sankirtan. I've been punched out sometimes when I used to go in Sankirtan. And it's really hard, you say, you're trying to call people, you feel rejected at every minute. So one has to really be prideless, understanding they're a servant. So how do you cultivate that pridelessness? Understand you're a servant of a servant of a servant of the Lord who maintains the gopis in Vrindavan. And just like, when you first join the movement, when I first joined, at least they sent me immediately to clean the toilets. And here I was, educated, really from a nice family and everything like that. So many things, Oh, me? Toilets? Me? Clean? I thought that's what mothers were for. And so I went and I bit my lips, started cleaning the toilet, and I felt ecstasy. Oh, I'm a servant. And cleaning the pots and everything like that. It was actually a wonderful experience. And then I had experience of someone who joined from another culture from South America where they very much have a stratified culture. That means like your position is really important, and if you're from a high-class family, you never even basically brush your own teeth. You have someone to brush your teeth. Not really, but it's figuratively. So I tried to get them to do menial service, and they kept saying, "No, who do you think I am?" And so eventually, I got them to shovel concrete. We were building a building, and I was also working to build a temple for Krishna. And they were on the second floor, and I was operating what's called a front end loader. You know what that is?
Yeah.
To bring the concrete up from the truck and pour it into theirs for what's called a tie beam. Anyway, and so I thought I'd teach this person a lesson. So I gave them, I gave an abhishek.
Concrete and
It still didn't make them humble. Anyway. So Prabhupada said, devotee of Krishna can accept any position. The service of Krishna. I mean, this is what, when you're young, you do any damn thing, you know. Just like I was told that Krish threw some cake at someone yesterday. So when I was a young sannyasi, and it was someone's birthday, I sort of threw cake at people. So when you're young, it's just like, everything's playful, isn't it? When you get older, you realize it's a big mistake. So anyway, so that's humility. Next one is strong conviction, which is called ashabandha. The strong conviction that one will receive the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called in Sanskrit ashabandha. Ashabandha means to continue to think, because I'm trying my best to follow the routine principles of devotional service, I'm sure that I will go back to home, back to Godhead. So in other words, one realizes how far they have to go. Maybe someone could take the garlic because it is stimulating my nostrils. So one realizes how far they have to go, how much they lack. And then, but I have faith in Krishna. I have firm faith in Krishna and Prabhupada, it will happen. So, and then here's this quote by Rupa Goswami, which is really interesting. In this connection, one prayer by Rupa Goswami is sufficient to exemplify this hopefulness. He says, I have no love for Krishna, nor for the causes of developing love for Krishna, namely hearing and chanting, and the process of bhakti yoga by which one is always thinking of Krishna and fixing his lotus feet in the heart, is also lacking in me. As far as philosophical knowledge or pious works are concerned, I don't see any opportunity for me to execute such activities. But above all, I'm not even born of a nice family. Therefore, I must simply pray to you, Gopi Jana Vallabha, which means Krishna, the maintainer and beloved of the gopis. I simply wish and hope that some way or other I may be able to approach your lotus feet. And this hope is giving me pain, because I think myself quite incompetent to approach that transcendental goal of life. It's a very deep prayer by Srila Rupa Goswami. And Prabhupada says the purport is this, is under the heading of Ashabandha, one should continue to hope against hope that some way or other he will be able to approach the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. As I often say to people, lamentation means purification. You know, if you're lamenting, and we should lament, you know, how much fallen or how much we are separated from Krishna, or how little devotion we have for Krishna, or how we're not able to be attentive while we're chanting Hare Krishna. You know, we should be lamenting like that. And then you get purified. Because that means, it's actually a good sign. You know, people come to me sometimes and say, I feel real bad because, you know, I can't be attentive to my japa. I feel real bad because I'm thinking of, you know, this or that. And I said, that's a really good sign. And they say, it's a good sign that I can't hear my japa? I said, it's a good sign that you want to hear your japa. Because most people I know don't worry about it. They have this song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. Isn't it? Oh, I didn't hear my japa. It's okay. You know, whatever. I'm just a conditioned soul. What do you expect? Isn't it? Most people, it's like that. Yeah. So that means they're not complacent. If someone is lamenting, they're not complacent. Complacency is actually the enemy of advancement in devotional service. When one is sufficiently eager, here's another one, eagerness is the next quality of a devotee. Eagerness. When one is sufficiently eager to achieve success in devotional service, that eagerness is called samut kanta. This means complete eagerness. Actually, this eagerness is the price for achieving success in Krishna consciousness, sometimes called volume, intense hankering or greed. Everything has some value, and one has to pay the value before obtaining or possessing it. It is stated in the Vedic literature that to purchase the most valuable thing, Krishna consciousness, one has to develop intense eagerness for achieving success. This intense eagerness is very nicely expressed by Bilvamangal Thakur in his book, Krishna Karnamrita. He says, I am eagerly waiting to see that boy in Vrindavan whose bodily beauty is captivating the whole universe, whose eyes are bounded by black eyebrows and expanded like lotus petals, who is always eagerly glancing over his devotees, and therefore moving slightly here and there. His eyes are always moist. His lips are colored like copper. And through those lips there comes a sound vibration which drives one madder than a mad elephant. I want so much to see him at Vrindavana. It's intense. So, the point is, the Goswamis of Vrindavan are also in that mood, as described in the Goswami Ashtaka by Srinivasacharya. Hey Radhe, Braja Devake, Hey Nanda, Shuno Kuta. They were going around Vrindavan and they weren't saying, I've seen Krishna. So where are you? So when we're going around Vrindavan, Braj, we should be thinking, I don't see Krishna. Where is he? Where is he? Is he under this rock? Is he? And he's there. In the same Karnamrita, there is another statement about the chanting of Radharani. It is said by one of the associates of Radharani, O Lord Govinda, the girl who is the daughter of King Vrishabhanu is now shedding tears, and she is anxiously chanting your holy name, Krishna, Krishna. It's like the story of the gopis looking for Krishna, and they're chanting Hari Dev, Hari Dev, Hari Dev, Hari Dev, and then Krishna appears as the deity. So this attachment for chanting the glories of the Lord is also stated in the Karnamrita as follows. What shall I do for Krishna, who is pleasing beyond all pleasurable conceptions, and who is naughtier than all restless boys? The idea of Krishna's beautiful activities is attracting my heart, and I do not know what I can do. So that, there's an intense desire. Anyway. So, all right. So in the book Bhajavali by Rupa Goswami, there is the following statement about Vrindavana, which is where we are. Actually, the word Vrindavana doesn't only mean the city of Vrindavan. It means this whole forest area, and sometimes it means everywhere in Braj. So we are actually in the Vrindavan forest right now. In this place, the son of Nanda Maharaj used to live with his father, who was the king of all coward men. In this place, Lord Krishna broke the cart in which the Shakata Asura demon was concealed. At this place, Damodar, who can cut the knot of our material existence, was tied up by his mother Yashoda. A pure devotee of the Lord Krishna resides in the district of Mathura or Vrindavan and visits all the places where Krishna's pastimes were performed. At these sacred places, Krishna displayed his childhood activities with the coward boys and Mother Yashoda. The system of circumambulating all these places is still current among devotees of Lord Krishna, and those coming to Mathura and Vrindavan always feel transcendental pleasure. Actually, if someone goes to Vrindavan, he will immediately feel separation from Krishna, who performed such nice activities when he was present there. So we're all there. You feeling separation? Hopefully. Such attraction for remembering Krishna's activities. Actually, that's one of the first things I experienced when I first came to Vrindavan. It was like entering into a completely different atmosphere. And then what I experienced is when I was driving away from Vrindavan, after we passed Koshi, which is like the border, that it was just like, oh my God, back in the material world. There's actually if you're real sensitive, you can feel these things. Such attraction for remembering Krishna's activities is known as detachment for Krishna. There are impersonalist philosophers and mystics, however, who, by a show of devotional service, want ultimately to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord. They sometimes try to imitate a pure devotee's sentiment for visiting the holy places where Krishna had his pastimes, but they simply have a view for salvation. And so their activities cannot be considered attachment. Sometimes we find there's a story in the Chaitanya Bhagavad, I believe, or Chaitanya Mango, about once upon a time there was someone who was singing songs about Ananta Shesh. And Haridas Thakur, when he heard these songs about Ananta Shesh, who was following, he started rolling on the ground in ecstasy. Oh, some spirit souls here. Oh, you're just on time.
It's a bit late.
Haribol. Haribol, welcome. So he started rolling on the ground in ecstasy. Yeah. Anyway, so Haridas Thakur started rolling on the ground in ecstasy, and there was a Brahmin watching the whole thing, and people were admiring him for doing that. And even this snake charmer, or person who was chanting these songs, he actually admired Haridas Thakur. Then the Brahmin was thinking, I want to be admired too. So then the Brahmin, after Haridas Thakur was finished, the Brahmin started rolling on the ground in ecstasy, and the snake charmer kicked him. And he said, why'd you kick me? He said, because you were just imitating Haridas Thakur. So you find sometimes people imitate these symptoms of ecstasy. Either they're impersonalists or just materialists, or want some appreciation. It is said by Rupa Goswami that attachment exhibited by pure devotees for Krishna cannot possibly be perfected in the heart of fruitive workers, karmis, or mental speculators, because such attachment in pure Krishna consciousness is very rare and not possible to be achieved even for many liberated persons. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, liberation from material contamination is the stage at which devotional service can be achieved. What verse is that? Anyone know? Starts with a B. BB. Brahmabhuta. Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Mad Bhaktim. That's the verse that Prabhupada is referred to here. For a person who simply wants to have liberation and merge into the impersonal Brahmajyoti, it is not possible to acquire attachment to Krishna. This attachment is very confidentially kept by Krishna and is only bestowed upon pure devotees. Even ordinary devotees cannot have such pure attachment for Krishna. Therefore, how is it possible for success to be achieved by persons whose hearts are contaminated by the actions and reactions of fruitive activities and who are entangled by various types of mental speculation? Okay, we'll end here. So, any questions? Questions? Comments? Yeah, 4 more minutes.
Humility, when you spoke about humility,
Yeah.
is that the same as pridelessness? I wasn't really clear.
Pridelessness, well, that's a negative word, but it's a symptom of humility. I mean, so pridelessness means not to have any pride. But humility means to understand that you're a servant of a servant of a servant of the Lord. And so a natural byproduct of humility is pridelessness. Everybody understands the difference? Because pridelessness, it's a negative thing. It's like the word Vaikuntha. The word Vaikuntha is, it refers to the spiritual world in context. But really the word itself is like a negation, which means no anxiety. So, pridelessness means no pride. But how do you get to the point of having no pride? Then you have to be humble. Humility is described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Shikshastra. You know that verse?
Yeah.
Manadena Kirtaniyasa Srahari. They're more talented than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to others. That's actually that's probably the best definition of humility. Trinadavisanichina. So when one is truly humble, one can be prideless. But one tries to be prideless without humility, one can't do it. Just like if I think, I'm very prideless. What do you think about that? If I say I'm the most humble, I'm messing kind of right now. If I say I'm the most humble, a very humble devotee, what do you think about that? Is that a problem if I say that?
I mean, since it's coming from you, it's not a problem.
Oh my God, he's pretty intelligent here. Yeah, but let's say it's coming from.
Donald Trump.
There's no Donald Trump. Let's say it's coming from your friend at school.
Then that'd be like pride. Even though they're saying they're humble, even if they are humble, that's sort of ruining their humility.
That's right, because they're bragging about their
Exactly.
humility. So that's the problem. If someone thinks I'm humble, they're not humble. Or if someone thinks I'm prideless, they're not prideless. So a actual devotee is thinking I'm really proud. So that's an important point. So any other questions? Yes.
So Gurudev, we spoke about conviction.
Yeah.
So conviction is having that firm belief.
Firm faith.
So conviction and faith goes hand in hand? Or
Yeah, and that's hand in hand.
okay.
That's described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. The conviction, if I do what Krishna says and Krishna wants, everything will be accomplished. That's the faith. That's firm faith, conviction. I guess they're almost like, I would guess that it's pretty synonymous. You know, conviction, faith. Yeah, because conviction means I'm convinced that if I do what Krishna wants, it will be accomplished. Faith means the same thing. To believe in something is not the same thing as faith. And the example I often give in that regard is like, let's say if you're a criminal, you believe in the police. You believe they exist.
Yeah.
I mean, you have complete, you're convinced that they believe, that they exist. But at the same time, you're not going to do what they want. I mean, you're going to be a criminal, try to avoid them.
Yeah.
So that's the argument I use with Christians sometimes. Because they say you just have to believe and you'll be saved. You don't have to do anything. You know the whole argument, what they say?
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything because everyone is sinful. So it's okay I'm sinful. You just have to believe in the Lord. And, He died for my sins, the whole thing. died for my sins. Which Prabhupada really was upset with that particular statement. Whenever Prabhupada saw a cross, Prabhupada got upset. Especially when there was the depiction of Jesus Christ on the cross, Prabhupada would get upset. So in other words, they believe in Jesus Christ. I mean, their belief is 100%. They believe they're going to be saved. They believe they're going to come out of the tomb at the day of judgment. Those bones shall rise again. You ever hear that statement?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, if my bones rise, I hope they rise as a young man. Just like, oh my God. So then better to die young, isn't it? Because if you die when you're old, the bones that rise are going to be really in bad shape. I mean, it's just so illogical. It's so illogical. But the main point is that they believe in Jesus Christ. They believe he's the Son of God. I mean, they're really convinced. And I also accept that he's the Son of God and like that. I'm not disbelieving in that. But they don't believe in faith about what Jesus Christ said so much. Like he said, so many will come in my name, but they will not be of me. So anyway, so there's not that really faith. It's belief. So I'm distinguishing between belief in something's existence and actually faith, which Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami describes as conviction. Same thing as conviction, that if you simply do what Krishna wants, everything will be accomplished. So, it is time for my prashad, which is more important than anything else in this world. So we'll see everybody tomorrow for bright and early at 7 o'clock for Parikrama. We're going to do the lower half of Govardhan tomorrow. It's another time. Someone may say, why you keep doing the same thing over and over again every day? Because it's more and more nectar. If you're internal, it's not the same thing. It's actually variety, unlimited variety from Govardhan. If you're external, you're just going to be looking at variety every day, doing something different. Like, I eat basically the same prasadam every day. Because the real point is prasadam is offered to Krishna, and that the taste is Krishna. So you should all follow my diet. That won't happen. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.